to Kiran. Now that we've heard from the parents, it's time for us to ask our expert the $1,000,000 question. Kiran, what is the right age to introduce social media to kids today?
All right. This is a little tricky question. If had it been questions like what is the right age for a child to start driving, we know there are laws around it. If we ask what is the right age to get married, there are laws around it. The unfortunate part is that when we open up the digital world to the children, young children who are still building their self-regulation, who are still building their self-control, who are still building their self-image, who are still wondering what should be their identity different from their parents, and who are highly image conscious, who actually, and then when we open them a world which is driven by likes, which is driven by quick rewards, it's a little challenge. So my first question always is, in fact, if you look at most of the apps, there is barely any app, whether Instagram, Snapchat, there's barely any app which is below 13 years. They all have a cutoff. So 13 to 15 is one of the age groups which most of the websites look around for. So before we even say what is the age for a child to introduce social media, my question would be to answer why. What's the aim, right? For example, there was a group of girls and boys across 4 cities. It was Bahrain, then Mumbai, Pune, and Delhi. They all came together between the age group of 9 to 13, and they were creating during lockdown a digital magazine where they were recording their day-to-day happenings. Very nice, So they were using Zoom, they were using Google Meet, they were using Canva, the app. And so more important, Jatin, out here is why. And the parents have to be sensitive about privacy is okay if two friends are talking. Privacy is okay if they're talking on phone, even if they are WhatsApping each other. But if the child is on internet, actually privacy is already lost. So somewhere the child has to be sensitized. The digital literacy has to be sensitized that, what, if they're on public mode, I need to know what's going on. Because
absolutely. Talking about modernity, I guess it's time for me to ask our expert, Kiran, another very important question. That what is the definition of a modern parent? And what's the line that they should draw to enter into the digital privacy of the kid, right? So what do you think about this, Kiran? What is the definition of modern parent?
Jatin, I think in today's time, when we know that the information is reaching out to the children much before the parents are ready to talk about it, so I strongly believe that the definition of modern parenting is who's ready to talk to the children about anything under the sun in an age-appropriate manner, of course, right? Without getting practicing without getting read between the ears. So that's that I would like.
What would an expert, relate to their child's personality too is also something I'm very interested to know before we move on to my key question that I have after that. So Kiran, what do you have to say?
Okay, so Jatin, keeping the scope of our podcast today, that is social media, my message would be that we got to go beyond everybody is doing it. The narration which children come up with, whether it is a 15-year-old child saying, all of my friends are playing games throughout the night, so I also need to join them, or whether a 10-year-old saying that all of my friends are on Snapchat, so I need to join them. We got to challenge those narrations of our children, and that has to come from parents only, because you still hold a lot of influence on your child. So everybody is doing it. You really want your child to look beyond that. So that's
I think that makes that makes an impact in terms of how our direction should be when we are making decisions and choices for our kids till the time that they make their own choices. So I would like to know from you, Kiran, one last thing, one key detail, that what are some of the key details, postulates, things, pointers that parents should keep in mind while dealing with social media and its usage by their kids?
Right. Jatin, as long as if the child is able to take care of their self-care needs, sleep, eat, social, and cognitive in the real world. And as long as child is avoiding using the social media as a go-to when the boredom sets in, right? If the child is able to have the structure around it, we should be good. We know, because everybody's maturity can be at different levels. So instead of going by the age of the child, it's important to go by the emotional maturity of the child. So yeah, so that's what I would say. That as long as child is balancing things, is able to handle the boredom, is able to handle the social part of it, we are good here.